Welcome to 221B Baker Street by way of the Southgate Bridge. I am Sherlock Holmes. This is my colleague, Dr. Watson. Actually, I am your host, Zachary Hare, and while she is not Watson, she is the Watson to my Holmes, Kristen Deere.
Why, hello.
Are you gonna do the whole podcast in
No.
that voice? Yes,
I
today.
couldn't
Today,
possibly.
why?
Oh,
How charming! We're gonna be discussing the season 3 episode, Seed Money. Yes, and I think we'll have to talk in these voices because the only way to make this episode interesting.
yes. There was a lot of really boring things here.
Oh yes. I was just talking about that to the major at the club.
Okay.
Okay. So now it does start off as a good note. We see Kitty's at group, and she gets. I forget. Did she? This her first solo case?
Well, it's the first. She's had a few things that were kind of solo cases, but they weren't.
Well, were those just? I think those were just assignments as part of other. I think this is her first case where she didn't use anyone else. It was
someone
just
came
her.
directly to her. It was her first
Right,
one.
and she didn't use Holmes or Watson.
Yeah, the whole thing was just her.
So I think that much is cool. And and of course we get the Holmes quote: "Life is strange, anything them could develop," which is a paraphrased version of a longer quote from, I believe, A Case of Identity. That Sherlock
And
Holmes case.
I liked the beginning, where Kitty's talking to her help group, but even that was a little, she's basically just saying that life is good. Basically, that she's enjoying it here and she doesn't want to, move on.
Yeah, it's like you almost could hear a sound later on go dun dun dun.
Yeah.
Foreshadowing. So, and
then she picks up her client, which is not a very good way to make another friend unless she comes up with good results.
I know, right? That might make the next meeting awkward if she doesn't find the dollar. It's like, hi, my name, whatever her name was, and she goes, I'm feeling a little depressed. Lately. My daughter's gone missing. I asked someone to help me.
And she might have a little trouble with her anonymity.
And okay, so she gets the case. From there, we go to another bouncer where there's apparently a couple died. And Holmes, I mean, I know they quit, but Holmes was just like dismissed Bell almost.
He did.
It's like I like to have some of the bounce ideas. He goes right here.
He even sort of emphasized the word person. I like to discuss these things with another person. And he's like, "What am I? I'm not a person." But it's like kind of like another jab. They're always jabbing each other.
Yeah. And of course, now we almost thought we were going to get the nose here because Sherlock he believes the murder was unintentional. And this is one of the few Sherlock moments in the whole episode.
Yes. And I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking that Sherlock is almost the nose himself, So I started thinking, what do the odors have to be like? How much do they have to be masked for him to bring in the nose?
Well, that's the point. I like it. I like. That's why I like the idea of nose. It's for the smells Sherlock can't smell. Well, it's to differentiate.
Right.
Right. But so it leads them to the basement because it's the smell of. I like how Sherlock's like really. He's like, it's a very toxic fume. Oh, we're fine now, by the way.
And he's breathing it in so heavily. He's like, almost like he's trying to get some sort of effect from it.
It reminds me of the movie Galaxy Quest, when they land on the alien planet, and he's like, what are you breathing? You don't know what the air's like, and the guy pokes his head out.
Yeah.
Seems fine. Or how about in Prometheus, where they just take their helmet, hey, alien atmosphere, oh, the air is breathable.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so they're exploring, and I found this, I like this little piece of, like, because it's a converted house, so he deduces that the poison air would have flown up. One place is vacant, and so they gotta check on the other one, which when Holmes sees the body, he puts two and two together. This is probably the other occupant. So they realize that the fumes in the tire killed the couple. So that guy was the intended target.
Clay
So then,
Dubrovinsky.
yeah, that was an interesting name,
Yes.
wasn't it? And then we get a really forced. It's like, ha ha, Holmes doesn't know popular culture. Ha.
Everything about this was forced. I mean, it's kind of handy that he was from the second floor, and and then yeah, there, there are a lot of moments here. We can go through each of
Yeah,
them.
we're gonna be here a while, but and one thing I found. And here's the thing. I understand. I mean, the body was burned beyond recognition. I'm not. Now, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know. But would your warts or your freckles still be visible? Would they still be visible on your
Yeah,
hands?
I don't know. I don't know.
And then miraculously, his shoe, everything was burned but his shoes.
Yeah, I mean, what about? I don't know. It's just, his shoes are okay, and yeah. I mean, somehow they have to know that he was from the second floor, and but it's a really kind of, it's not even a deduction. One thing kind of leads to the next in this one. It's
Yeah,
one of those. It's like a regular CSI or something. They always do
and
that.
then
One thing leads to the next. Criminal Minds. They're
yeah,
trying to find a specific person, and it keeps unfolding. They're killing more people, and then you have to find the killer at the end.
yeah, and so this one, yeah, well, I like the idea. There was, and then Holmes does say later that he was able through the guy's facial features deduce from the pictures that it was him. And they also did figure out that it's obviously a gangland style hit because it's the same way the cartel usually kills the victim. That's a way to go.
Yes, that
And
that's bad. But
yeah,
I like Joan's reaction when he explains it, and she immediately, you can see that she's like kind of seeing it in her mind, like imagining, and then he like does the you know finishes explaining. She's like, oh my god, that's horrible.
so we move on to the man's emergency contact, the insanely hot woman. They said, okay, we need a hot blonde to be the X. There we go.
I've seen her in something before. I can't remember what.
Well, I'll see if I can while we podcast. But there is one thing that happens here that I did have I now a promise. Now I understand, of course, stuff gets edited out, but they immediately go, "Oh, by the way, he grew marijuana." It's like, what?
Yeah.
We found bricks of. Now we did see the growing stuff, but I'm sorry, what marijuana? That's not just something you do as a throwaway line.
Yeah.
And I had a problem with that. It's one of the many things in this whole episode.
There were a few kind of well, the worst one was towards the end, but we'll get to that.
Oh, there was a few. So then we find out that she dated him. They broke up because he's a cheating bastard. Then they got back together, just hooked up, and that he was I also like the idea that he never smoked pot, but he just liked growing like special strains.
Yeah, and she, of course, was with him for that, not for not for anything else, really. Well, a little bit of everything else, but mostly for the pot.
Exactly. And so she tells him that that he was growing, like different people were interested in him because he was so good at growing it, and that from there that's pretty much the big part of the information. So they start looking into that, and then the next scene we see how skinny Johnny Miller really
And
is.
here we have the hashtag no shirt, Sherlock.
Oh
Yes,
no,
yes.
no,
That was a
fail.
very popular hashtag
Oh God,
during the
no.
show. Yes, no shirt, Sherlock. But I did like how he said that Kitty should try it sometime. And she's looking at him, like, wait, what? Shirtless? What?
I think, and I believe I speak for the fans when I say this, we'd be fine with that.
No. Not everybody. Not.
I speak for the male fans when I say this. We'd be. Anyways, so she's telling about his case. Oh yeah, we get a little jab here. It's like, did you talk to Watson? Did you see Watson? No, we communicate telepathically. It's like, what?
Oh, and I do
So
like how he had, if you looked at the wall of evidence, it was upside down.
it took me a minute to I think I didn't really notice till the rewatch that he was looking at the wall of evidence while he was hanging upside
Yeah.
down. Because I'm so focused on him hanging upside down and Kitty, I didn't notice it at first. So, we get a little talk. She tells him a bit about the case that she thinks it's just a kid being a brat. I like that too. I was like, I used all your techniques. I've come to the deduction. She's a
Yeah.
brat.
But it seemed like she seemed a little upset about it. Like, you know, the mother went through this really tough time and tells the daughter that, and now the daughter, instead of, feeling bad for the mom, she runs away. Kind of seemed like she was upset about that.
Right. And so from there we get another
Yes,
rude awakening, but this one's at
yes.
Watson's. But
That was the
here's
best part of
and
the
I think
episode.
I tried to. This should have been. I think this should have been a hashtag, a Sherlock smoothie.
A Sherlock smoothie.
And here's the thing: if a friend of mine woke me up with a nice breakfast smoothie, I don't think I'd be that mad.
Actually, she was upset only at first, but she wasn't upset, but that upset, you know?
I like, and of course, I like his return. You break into my house
Yeah,
all the time, and she's like, "'Cause you
forced me
make me."
to.
Now, he actually gives her and I mean, I don't think it's totally meant to be a compliment, but he actually gives her and Kid a pretty good compliment right here, where he's like saying most women, although it kind of insults women when you think about it,
Yeah.
because I think he says most women essentially saying women make mountains out of molehills, and they make big deals, but you and Kitty are not like that. You wouldn't do anything without purpose, you know. I think because I don't want to sound unintelligent, but I was a little hard to understand exactly what he was saying.
No,
Did
yeah, it sounded like that's what he was saying.
I thought
Yeah.
so. And then the look he's giving her when she's telling him that she's joining the insurance company.
Yeah. He looked like he was about to snore.
I don't think I've ever seen him make that look. It's just like,
Uh,
huh, yeah.
and I
And
love
then
when he
oh,
uses the word pregnant.
yeah, no, and he's only used have you, now. I should ask you this, and please, listeners, chime in with emails if you have it. Have you ever heard anyone use that phrase to mean that?
Yeah, I have.
Really? I don't know if I have. I mean, I remember he used it last season in the season finale, but I've never heard that. I don't think I've ever heard. In fact, I was watching it with someone and they were only half listening. They go, "What? She's pregnant?"
No, I've heard that term before, actually.
Well, I've heard like pregnant pause and maybe, but I don't think I've ever heard it used quite in that
Yeah, I mean
context. But that's
he
neither.
kind of emphasizes the word in a slightly different way than is normally used, but yeah, it's kind of I've heard a similar use before, but I do think it's funny when it's like he's doing that on purpose, trying to be unusual.
Yeah. He's got some. I wonder if it's a because I've been noticed. I don't know if I just never noticed before, but he's got like a chip or a badge on his jacket. I wonder if it's a sobriety thing.
You know what? I saw that and I forgot to like think about it. I forgot to take a second look at it. I was going to.
I cannot tell what it is. It's just,
Yeah.
and that's my best guess.
Yeah, maybe that is.
And then we get a little insight into the Wu Tai Ping
Wu
orchid.
Tai Ping Tung.
I'm not even gonna really the Chinese
No,
plant.
Taiwan. Taiwanese.
I just pissed off a few of our listeners. Okay, so anyways,
Pregnant pause.
yeah, exactly. Hey, it's payback for all the Italians that weren't played by Italians. So, anyways, now, so they find his stat. They use the Russian money and the heating thing to find his growing house, and they know some of the plants are dying. And Sherlock gives them the whole Wu Taiping orchid spiel.
Yes.
And I love Aiden Quinn. He's just like his tone is perfect for talking like that. He's like, "That's
Yeah.
fascinating. Why are you telling
Yeah.
us?" He's like, "'Cause it's over there."
Yeah, Gregson and Watson both were like,
Oh, their
yeah, okay,
reaction was just like,
whatever.
"What's he telling?"
Why are you telling it? Even Watson after he is fully invested in this idea, Watson's sitting there going, maybe it was another gang, a rival gang. Like,
Right.
why the flower? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, yeah, and apparently the most of the plants are dying, but he sees the rare flower. Now here's something I just noticed. He just went into the whole thing about how it's an insanely rare flower, and like the next scene, it's just sitting in the
Yeah.
precinct. And here's the thing. Obviously, we find out later that it's a. I mean, I'm not a botanist, so I don't know if it's still worth something. I don't know. But you would think if they thought they found a real flower, the first thing they would call is, I don't know, the Chinese dang it, the Taiwanese consulate. I'm sorry, Wu Tai Ping sounds. If for those of you who haven't checked out my bio on the Southgate Media website, which you can, I am whiter than white, so I apologize. But you would think they would call like the Taiwanese consul and go, "Hey, we found it."
Well, or at least bring someone in to, I don't know, protect it. Put in some sort of protective something or other, a little greenhouse or something, a little mini greenhouse, something so it's not just sitting on a table like being kind of handed around and you know.
Yeah, and I find this black market, like the idea of putting. I mean, I don't think I've ever heard of it. It's a very brilliant way to really to sell something illegally.
Yeah.
Like, and I wonder if anyone watch. It's one of those things where you wonder if anyone watching the show is going, "Hey."
But if the cops know about it, then it's
Yeah, but it still sounds really. It sounds like it'd be really hard to prove.
well, also if you do it on the dark net,
I was just thinking that.
kind of hard to.
And the funny thing is, I only know about the dark net because of television.
Well, no, it was in the news. What are you talking about? Do you not watch
Yeah,
the news or read the news?
well, everything on the news right now is about a deflated football, so no, I don't watch
Actually,
the
I guess
news.
the news is also on television. So what am I saying? I mean, besides the newspaper,
Well, I read local news, but
yes,
yes.
the newspaper or the internet.
Now this next scene where she's talking to the girl's friend. Now, at first, when I'm first watching, I'm going, okay, I know teens are supposed to be sassy, but she's looking for a missing friend. Because the first time I watched, she's like, oh, I don't know. Why did you take the license plate? Like, you almost expect her to go, I don't know. God.
I immediately thought that she was a little thief because
I thought something was up, but then when you rewatch it, you realize the reason she acting like she doesn't care is because she knows that the girl is fine.
yeah. But at first, the way they did that scene, it made me think she was a thief because she says, "Do you have an espresso machine that I could steal?" You know, I'm thinking, and she's like, "Oh, I took the plate, even though I thought she was paranoid because maybe I could find it and steal it." You know,
Uh,
that was like what I
I didn't
thought.
get
She was
that,
like,
but
it sounded like hints that she was a thief. You know, at first, that's
and
what it initially
yeah, and
sounded
then
like.
yeah, I just I thought it was weird she being dead. So, but it makes sense when you realize she knows that the girl's
Right.
okay. So then we get to the agricultural people, and Sherlock uses his opportunity to go after to verbally attack the bee killer,
Yes. Which
which was awesome.
I am totally for that because it's horrible to murder bees. I would be angry too because so many
What's
bees are
horrible is they don't
dying.
need to they don't need to use it. I mean, from what I understand, there's a lot of ones that are completely fine to them, but it's like they just it's not even a question of money. They just don't use it.
They don't use what?
There are pesticides that are fine,
Yeah.
or methods that are fine, but they just use the one they use just to use it.
Yeah.
But sadly, that's neither here nor
Right.
there. Although it's funny. I tweet because obviously we know she's the one that did it. I tweeted a bee killer, get her Sherlock, and then he did.
Yes. But I do if I knew I was talking to the person causing bee genocide, I would be pissed as well.
Yes.
That's all I'm saying.
I like how she's just this woman just would not stop lying. She's like, "Yeah, I bought the bureau. What big deal? Oh yeah, I thought the flower was
Oh,
nice."
also another thing, this kind of it's related to the flower in a way because the flower is the last of its kind because of the dying out of the moth that pollinates it.
Ah,
And
yes.
then if these people are causing bee genocide and bees pollinate, and they are important for growing food and such, it kind of parallel a little bit.
And okay, so of course they They find the flower, which just throws them.
Yes. It was kind of
But then
funny seeing Sherlock's face, his face.
yeah, well, it's not
What?
easy to surprise him. Then we swing back to the station. We have the owner of the plate that was following the girl. But it turns out now, of course, this guy is obviously a jerk.
Yes.
But his car was in Baltimore, so something is up. Oh, and then I remember when I first watched the episode, I'm like, why is Kitty saying
Yes,
that?
queer left thumb. Hmm. We know it applies to something.
Yes, but I remember when we first, even Gregson's like, Aiden Quinn's reaction's like,
Yeah. But
okay,
the way it links, I mean, it's like it ends up being a really easy case for her because she basically notices that they have the same thumb. You know, she saw her
right.
pictures. And so right away, at this point, she knows that he's her father. We just don't know that she knows until later.
And then we zip on back over to the brownstone. We have the two orchids, and there's two of them, which is impossible, Sherlock says. And then they get this scene with the plant food.
Well, the only thing that is possible is that they are clones. So that's why right away he's like, okay.
And then he just
Yep.
tears them out. I like how Watson's like, yeah, they're but here no, clones, but they're still beautiful, and she's still gonna take care of them. I
I
don't.
thought that was
I have a
cute.
problem with Sherlock. Yeah, but I don't think Sherlock would kill them. I mean, I know it's. I sound like a fanboy going, oh, the real Sherlock Holmes would never. But even I don't think he would just let them
I
die.
know.
He cares about stuff like interesting things.
I don't know though. Maybe because they were clones, it's like, well, they're not meaningful. It's almost like he was pissed at them at the flowers for
Yeah,
being cloned because he was so
but now
excited about it before, you know?
Now, I really wish one of our listeners was like a botanist or something so they could tell me, does that mean these flowers, like, of course they're clones, but but they're still, I mean, do they pollinate? Can they be pollinated? Can they be crossed? Like, what does that mean? I mean, I've heard of people growing it, but what does it mean?
Yeah, I mean, he would have had to have. Well, I don't know. What did happen
That's the
to
thing.
the original, you know? Oh, there was another thing to do with that. I there was something I didn't quite understand because he said that the original had been stolen, and then later
Yeah,
on he says, "Oh, the person who sold it didn't steal it. He discovered it." But he had said that it was stolen from a particular place, like a museum or something.
well, it's well, I don't know.
That confused
Oh,
me. I was like, what? I thought it was
you mean the
stolen,
picture of the
and
guy that
now
looked like a
he's
monk?
saying, oh, the person who discovered it. I'm like, what? I don't understand. Oh, wait, no, no, because he made a clone. Well, maybe he made a clone for the museum or something. I don't know.
No, well, he said it was stolen from the place, and he made a clone possibly from a cutting or something. Like he could have like a guy with his skills could have made another one from like a petal or something.
Okay, but I don't know how that tied into the person who discovered it and who doesn't look like a tie necklace murderer. How he showed the picture of that guy.
Yeah,
I don't know. That was weird.
who knows?
I don't know how
But
that tied together.
so they get a call, and it turns out there were two more tie or necktie killings. These are two Agra from what's the name of the company? Agra
Oh,
Fern,
Agra next, I think.
something like that. And the two of their employees were killed with a message that says essentially this means war.
Yeah.
Because and of course the company's like I love Sherlock saying like it's like because as we all know when the cartel comes for you everyone's reaction is I don't know. So they do so. One thing I wanted to mention. What's interesting about him making copies of something that was stolen and then selling duplicates. This is actually something that it's a very old con. It's a very very old con. You sell something that's been stolen and then you make copies because obviously even if the people find out they're fakes, they can't call the cops and go I was sold a fake of the stolen
Right.
thing. They actually did this, and this actually ties into Holmes, not the story, well, not the books, I mean, but one of the Jeremy Brent Sherlock Holmes. They did a version of it in the Final Problem where Moriarty steals the Mona Lisa and makes copies.
Ah, okay, right.
Actually, I think yeah, the Tom Baker Doctor Who did one too. Yeah, with the Mona Lisa. The guys made well, actually, the one with Doctor Who had an interesting version because they weren't fakes because he had Da Vinci make them.
I'm trying
It,
to
it's it
remember this Doctor Who you're talking about.
it was this was Tom Baker 70s Who,
Okay.
so you might not remember it.
Yeah. I mean, I saw
It's
the old
actually an
ones a long,
episode.
long time ago.
It's actually an episode worth mentioning because John Cleese has a cameo.
Oh, that's
It's literally he's in there for like a minute, but it's still him.
yeah. I mean, I
It's
saw those when I was so young. I don't remember anything from the old ones.
yeah, I've seen him more recently. Now, of course, they know that the company's lying, and they gotta figure out what's going on because obviously the cartel is involved, but Sherlock still doesn't believe that the original killing was him. So they use the special rope. They find a cartel member who confesses to all those two killings and almost every necktie killing, but he refuses to take credit for the
For
original killing.
Clay.
Exactly for Mr. Magic Point Break,
Yes. Magic Mike
as
Point
Watson
Break,
called it.
baby.
So they go. I mean, and they went back and forth way too much with that woman. They go to talk to her. She's like, yeah, yes, he sold me the flower. Yes, he was tied to the cartels, but because we realized what a genius he was, we wanted to
I
recruit him.
that lady was so boring. This Barbara Conway. Oh
Yeah,
God, both
and
the
then
women, both the women, her and um the ex girlfriend.
yeah, and and then we get that great thing where he's like, "You can, the quorum forbids me from expressing myself. I am doubled over with
Okay,
laughter."
that was one of the best lines. Unfortunately, it was wasted on a one of our least favorite episodes.
I think it was wasted because they showed it in the preview. That's why I don't watch.
Oh yeah, that
I try to
I
avoid previews
know.
because everything keeps showing the good joke. It's like it's
Well, at least they
ruining
didn't
it.
show Inside Me as soiling himself.
Well,
Because
it's
that
true
was
though.
even funnier.
I would react the same way because it's like, oh, the cartel came to us this, and we countered offered. It's like you counter offered the
Yeah,
cartel.
it was.
You wanna think about what you just
Yeah.
said?
I mean, everything to do with this woman was boring except for, Sherlock talking about how hilarious it was because it was so stupid.
Right, so they keep the oh now of course we go back to Kitty's case. She finds the girl. By the way, I'm just gonna say this: if I'm asleep in a house where no one's supposed to know he is, and I open my eyes and there's a stranger there, I'm not gonna just slowly waking up and go
Oh, I
hi.
know. That was weird.
And also this is a girl who's trying to be. She's just like no, how she you bolt up and go who the hell are you?
Well, I was thinking about that a little bit though, and I'm thinking, well, maybe because it was her friend's house or something.
Like
But whatever.
but still, it's someone just sitting there watching you
Yeah, I mean,
sleep.
she should at least have a Watson reaction, to being surprised awake.
Exactly. So there's get this scene where she tells her like we obviously she found out because her mother told her that her father's really her mother's rapist, which I could not even understand how to process that.
Oh, it was all over. That's what. What's the name of that show? SSG. Not yes,
SVU.
SVU. SVU. I almost said
Someone needs to go back and
SVU
watch
as
Sesame Street.
Stargate Universe.
Oh,
SVU.
SG1. Okay. Now, one thing I have a problem with this show is, or this episode, I should say, is of course we get this good moment where Kitty, like, she just hugs Kitty and they say, listen, your mother didn't know what to do, but she raised you, she did right by you. But we don't, I mean, obviously she hugs her, but we don't know what's resolved. That really wasn't resolved. Like, the guy is still gonna get away with rape. The daughter hopefully will start listening to her other, but we
Well, the
don't know
case
that.
was to find the daughter, not
Well, I know, but usually in a show like this, they do
right.
something to like punish, just a little
I
one-off kind
think
of thing.
because it was just it. This was the secondary storyline, and
Yeah.
it was Kitty's case.
But Kitty, especially, is
I
someone that
know.
would go and physically beat
Yes,
up the guy.
he would have done something. I mean, and it was weird. I mean, she was sitting right across from the guy and didn't want to. I mean, it seemed like she should have had a more disgusted look on her face, you know?
Yeah. And then of course we get the whole thumb thing,
Yeah. And that
which is
hug
kind of interesting.
where she was pretty uncomfortable.
So that wraps that up. Yeah, so we back now. Of course, we get all that back and forth with the, oh, maybe it was this, maybe it was that. And it's just, I don't care. Is this, I mean, this is probably the first time I was, well, in a long time I'm watching Elementary and go, is this over
I
yet?
thought it was weird too that Sherlock, I mean, Sherlock was he was the one who said that this Barbara whatever was such a big liar, you know, that she must be this, you know, compulsive liar. And yet it was Watson who said, you know, if you flip everything that she says, you know, do the opposite, then that's what happened. You know, then everything falls into place.
Yeah, but then they're like, oh, it's still this thing, something still doesn't make sense, yada yada. But then we get the great scene where Sherlock, again, really foreshadowing, where Sherlock's like, oh, I want to make her my full-time partner. She's come along farther than I expected, mostly because of your help, Watson. And like, oh God, what's gonna happen?
Right. And they're almost doing this like little night, you know, nice ending, you know, little happy family thing. Oh, I'll bring pizza. All this stuff like,
Whenever you hear the words, I'm going to tell her soon, you're like,
yes, going to
oh
tell her soon, and
God.
I'll bring pizza, and we'll celebrate, and we'll have a nice little happy family gathering by the fire.
Yeah. So eventually, and how about that weird scene with the ex? And like, I wanted to get in the apartment. No, I thought she was gonna be the killer.
This was the worst scene of the whole episode. I hated this scene because
But
I
did you
thought at
get that vibe
least,
at all? That she was gonna be the
yes, I
killer?
thought at least it was going to be something like that where she would be in danger because she's with the killer or something. I don't know. And it would be at least a little bit of a surprise maybe, or they would do something with it, but it was just really boring scene, and it was so forced. The whole scene was
I mean,
only
it went
there
on way,
just
it
to,
went on way longer than it should have.
yes, and the whole thing was just for this one little piece of information. It was such a letdown.
And then I know it's like, yeah, he made this flour. I'm gonna get the food. It's like, oh God.
Ugh,
And then she
shut up
realizes,
already.
oh, then she realizes, oh, we have that food.
Yeah,
And then we go, and then Watson confronts her. Okay, and then okay, now here's the thing. While of course the murders were unintentional, well, the Kelly murder, and maybe it wasn't a premeditated thing. I don't care. This woman and her money would have run.
yeah.
She wouldn't have felt contrition, especially she's like, I went over house, he was cheating on me, I hit him. Oh,
I know.
this woman
The
would have
whole
run
thing
away.
was such a boring story. The whole everything, and this Barbara woman. I mean, she's the most boring character besides the ex-girlfriend. The two most boring characters in one
Yeah.
episode, and wasn't even any deduction. You know?
Your clue cap is going to be like, what, 30
Oh
seconds
God,
long this
it's
week?
worse than that other one from the other week because there was no deduction really. They brought up the clues at like they didn't bring up any clues beforehand. You know?
Yeah, here's the thing. I love detective stories. I mean, of course, Sherlock Holmes, and almost if it's a good detective show, it's a good chance I'll watch it. But here's the thing. In real life, I am not a detective. I like to think I'm an intelligent guy. Could I be a real one? I don't know. But at the very least, I want the shows to be a little smarter than me. I could have figured out this
Yeah,
case.
I mean it's like they're just figuring it out as they go along and not really deducing anything. Just oh well, here's this piece of evidence and it links to this. Oh, so that must mean she's the killer. Duh.
Yeah, and then we get the scene, this like we said, the thing was where Gregson called him in. You know, when I first watched it, I had to rewatch to make sure that I thought the woman was going to be the girl, like the girl that she helped,
Yeah.
but it wasn't. And of course it's now we knew this was probably coming. We knew because they never were specific over like what happened to the person that
Well,
kidnapped
at
Kitty.
that point, I didn't think it was going to be the girl because of the food. I was like, oh, because I picked up on that too, you know. But it was just a really boring way of getting to that point.
Yeah, and then it turns out, of course, the guy that right after Kitty's in town, so it should be. I mean, we'll see where they go with that, and that's where the episode ends. So yeah. So do you still have a clue cap this
Yeah,
week?
I mean, there were a few clues, but the clues he said a couple of clues, and then like the clues weren't given ahead of
I, I,
time. He
I mean, it
said,
boiled
"Oh,
down to
these
freak.
were clues I found, and this is what it means."
I mean, it boiled down to like just it was just because he was a cheater,
Yeah.
and the layer like it was the layers just weren't even layers. If ugh.
There were no layers.
Well, still, but I mean, it's like there were no layers, but they tried to put layers in. It's like, oh, it wasn't really about money; it was about love. It's like she's like, I loved him. Oh, it sounds like it.
I it didn't even seem like that though. It just seemed like it just unfolded,
Yeah,
it wasn't, there weren't layers. It just was, one of those sheets of paper that rolls up, those continuous sheets of paper, just unfold, and there it is.
yeah. So yeah, and that's so now. Yay! Time for Kristen's clue cap. Woo! Everyone's favorite part where I don't talk. Yeah, this episode has drained me.
Yeah, it's it won't
Okay.
be a really exciting clue cast. So this week is the case of the Kelly couple murder, and then we see of also of the murder of Clay Dubrovinsky, and we get a lot of evidence in the beginning. It's not really any clues. The evidence shows that it was possibly the drug cartel that killed Clay, and therefore the Kelly couple by accident. Um, and then Clay's ex says that he worked for the cartel. But the first real clue we see is the Russian coins that Clay had, and which Sherlock has already used to help link to the location where Clay grew the pot. And the second sort of clue was that his plants were dying, which meant that it probably wasn't the cartel because they wouldn't let the plants die. And then three, the rare flower itself was sort of a clue because, and then that's what leads them to Barbara Conway, who bought one of the rare flowers. The fact that she still has it in her possession is perhaps another sort of clue, and that means that the flowers are clones. That's where they find that out. And so yada yada yada. Basically, Watson gets the final clue that Clay's ex got a flower that he gives to all his girlfriends, and it uses the same plant food that Barbara had given to Watson and Sherlock accidentally for the rare flower. Meaning that it was, just a simple case of a man cheating on his girlfriend, and she kills him over it. Blah. So, there you go. That's it for this week's Clue Cap.
All right. Well, luckily in the clue cap we made sure to throw in some parts about dancing penguins, so that makes it awesome.
We love
So
the dancing penguins.
who does not love dancing penguins? So, I'd like to remind everyone of, if you want to email us, bakerstreetpodcast@gmail.com, Baker Street Podcast on Facebook, and of course, Baker Street Pod on Twitter. We love hearing from you. It's a great thing to discuss the show, like whatever you like and hate about the show, what you like and hate about the podcast. We love hearing from you. So please keep the messages coming and review us on iTunes because that really helps get us notoriety. So I'm gonna do my final thoughts on this. Here's the thing. This episode wasn't a bad crime episode. It was a decent. If this was any other show, I'd be like, all right, it was all right. Not really much rewatch value, but it was an okay case. But when you think about the fact that it's a Sherlock Holmes show, this show, really look at this episode. Would the episode have been any different without Holmes?
No.
No. If take Holmes out of the show, same show. And that can't. Now, if it was a show where Watson and Kitty had to solve the case without Holmes, I can live with that. But the case wasn't. It just happened. It wasn't
Right.
solved. So I mean, I can't give this episode a good rating. I mean, there was a couple of good quips. I mean, even the character development was less like, okay, so yeah, I wouldn't recommend this episode again. There was like nothing to it. What do you think? What are your final thoughts?
Yeah, actually, if this was any other show, it would be one of my least favorites of another show. If this was like, CSI or something like that, I wouldn't have liked it in that case either. It mainly because they had those scenes with those two women, those long, drawn out, boring scenes. I mean, that just there was so much time went by where nothing happened. It was just way slow, boring. I wouldn't have liked it either way. The only thing, the only plus is the very ending, seeing what's coming up for next week. And, the Kitty's, actually, we didn't even talk about that. Seeing that Kitty's abuser is in New York and leaving his calling card. And then also, Kitty at the beginning. So, if you just like erase everything and just leave the parts that were good, it was just Kitty at the beginning and at the
Right.
end.
Yeah, so I guess that's well, we're looking. Hopefully, it will pick. But I mean, well, we gotta think every show's gotta have their week. And really, when you think about it, this show doesn't have many week episodes. So
Yeah, I mean, I love this show. It's one of my
me
favorites.
too.
So yeah,
So this one's probably. I mean, this one probably was probably the weakest one of the season. A couple others that maybe come close. I think we talked. But yeah, so this is definitely one of them.
yeah.
So, all right. I think any more?
Oh,
Does
do
that
you
wrap
have
it up
any
for you?
favorite lines? Because there were some funny lines. Well, I guess we
Well,
already covered them.
yeah. I mean, I that's why I covered him. Like this. I mean, like the one where he said about, of course, doubled over after someone himself, and of course we get a classic Holmes quote. But I don't know. The favorite lines it just didn't do
Right.
for me this week.
Okay.
This whole episode. So is that it for
Yep.
you? All right, everyone. I'd like to thank you all for listening, and tune in next week where we're hoping for a better episode. And for
Well, it's a
now,
two-parter.
the game.
Yep.
Oh, never interrupt the end line. That happened. That's why I had to change my last host for another podcast because he kept stepping on it.
No.
Yes, I will. I'll do it. I'll do it. I would. Oh, one must have some decorum. Yeah. But it's time to go for the game is afoot.